Good evening, good afternoon, my YouTube viewers. It is Crystal here, and what I want to talk about in this post is the standard error. And so what I'm showing you now is I'm showing you the formula for standard error. Standard error equals the sample standard deviation over the number of samples. And the Wikipedia definition of standard error is a statistic is the standard deviation of its sampling distribution or an estimate of the standard deviation. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to go ahead, and now that you know what a standard error is, according to Wikipedia, is we're going to go ahead and give you the standard error. But I think what I'm going to do, since it's saying it's an estimate of the standard deviation, I'm going to copy this list, and I'm going to go over here for the standard deviation. And I'm going to calculate standard deviation with that list. And so you can see the standard deviation with this list is 174.534. And the standard error with the same list is 55.19216. So that's a little bit different because it's saying an estimate of a standard deviation. It's saying here the standard error of a statistic is the standard deviation of its sampling distribution or an estimate of the standard deviation. So right there, it gives you the sample standard deviation over the number of samples. So that's a bit odd. So that it is completely different from the standard deviation when we compare the standard deviation to the standard error. But we've already covered standard deviation in a previous YouTube video. And so since we've already covered it in a previous YouTube video, we don't need to cover it in this video because you can go through my videos and find standard deviation and look at it there. So what we'll do is to calculate the standard error, we define a function and called calc standard error. It takes a num list or a list as input, and std equals calc std, and it takes the num list as input. And se, that's your standard error, equals std over len num list, the square root of len num list. So that's to the power of 0.5. And so we've got a list of numbers here, and it gives you the standard error of 55. But in order to be able to calculate the standard error, you have to know the standard deviation. And so what I've done is we'll go back to standard deviation, and you can see here the formula for standard deviation. And then, so it says calc std, and it takes a list of numbers, and variance equals calc variance std equals variance to the square root of variance, and it returns std. So that's your standard deviation. So you have to know another function that I've already covered is variance. So we go find calc variance. So we calculated variance. This is your formula for variance. And this is the formula that we calculated. Variance, we define the function and call it mean equals calc mean. Takes a list of numbers as input. Numerator equals 0. Diff from mean, and that's an empty list. for I in range 0, then x to 1. Difference from mean append xi minus mean x. Numerator equals numerator plus difference from mean I squared to the power of 2, that squared. Variance x equals numerator over ln x, and then you return variance x, and then you see it gives you a variance of 21704. So that's your variance. So again, go back to SE, standard error. You have to have all of these other formulas in your library before you can calculate the standard error, which is what I've done. So basically, I'm just using all of these formulas that I've made, but I'm sure in Python has a library, like a statistics library, that you can use these yourself, but I think it's important to actually know how the formulas are derived, and that's why I'm making these functions from scratch. So that concludes our code review for the standard error. In order to know the standard error, you have to know how to calculate the standard deviation. In order to calculate the standard deviation, you have to know how to calculate the variance. In order to calculate the variance, you need to know how to calculate the mean. So all of these functions are interrelated, intertwined with each other. But we've only really covered one function at this code review, which is our calculate standard error. So I hope you like it. I hope you get some understanding of how to calculate standard error. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share. And I would like to thank all of my subscribers to my channel. As long as you keep subscribing and watching my videos, I'll keep making videos. So thank you so much for watching my videos. I look forward to making more videos for you in the future.